Okay, thank you for being here again. And this is the second lesson of the Systemology basic course here at the Mardukite Academy. And we just got through lesson 1. This is the second lesson, the second part. Here we'll start to get into the details of this material. The first introduction is always a little bit difficult for me. It's not the easiest sometimes to introduce a person to this from scratch. A lot of the people that have been a part of it over the years have been a part of its ongoing development, the type of vocabulary that we use, all of those things. And so bringing this to the public from scratch is something of a challenge. As we go on farther, it's a lot easier to get this out, but much like processing, I guess, is for those that are over in England. Apparently they have a different methodology than over here in America where we do processing. But the materials will work for both sides of the pond. And in the first lesson, we covered the Alpha Spirit. The Alpha Spirit is being the individual. It's you, it's me, it's the basic personality of self as a spiritual being. It's what is underlying all of what we experience hereafter. And the clarity of that knowingness, that beingness, that position that we once had knowingly as an Alpha Spirit is what we call fragmented. It's subject to fragmentation. Fragmentation is the obscurement of truth, or the obscurement of clarity, or the separation of things into parts, splitting things into pieces. This fragmentation is what we are essentially undoing or defragmenting as we apply systemology. We are treating the zoo line. We discussed the zoo line, the model that we had last time. Just kind of refresh everyone's memory here of our model and such last time. And this is the archaic arcane systemology. In this lesson we're going to get into the actual standard model that we developed as a result of this. This is a very basic form of understanding that we uncovered from 6,000-year-old tablets. And then within the Systemology Society we've gone much farther. But our spiritual power, the awareness, the zoo, is not actually lost to us. It trails behind us. And what it is entangled in is what we refer to as continuous compulsive creation. When we use the word compulsive or compulsively in systemology, what we mean is something that is happening automatically and for most reasons or purposes unknowingly by the individual. Is something that they are participated in. Part of their awareness and attention units are wrapped up in this compulsive conscious creation, but they aren't aware of doing it. There was a point where they probably were aware of doing it, but there are many things that we have decided to intentionally not know as we have progressed down our spiritual path. There's things in this world that we would prefer to not know or try to block out. And these intentions that we have and our ability to actually do this, it hinders our other abilities to actually encounter things as they are, or to see things with a clarity, because that is being obscured for whatever reasons. And those reasons are individual to each person. They're unique to each person. And so what we do with our processing levels is uncover the reasons and places where an individual has fixed their attention, fixed their awareness in the past. As far as I can tell, systemology is one of the only methods of doing this, pursuits that is really targeted identifying the spirit, the actual Alpha Spirit, the actual I am awareness of a being that is the original and true nature, the original true self of the individual. It is not the mind, it is not the body, but a spiritual awareness with an ability to create and make use of these other systems, mental systems, physical systems, organic systems. And there's really nothing wrong with an entity doing that. There's nothing wrong with an entity deciding to create a mind system to automate things for its creation, or to use an organic body, or what we refer to as a genetic vehicle instead of using the word body. The term body, although it's technically correct, we talk about a human body, the term body could really refer to any kind of mass or any kind of object or such. So when we refer to the human body as an organic human shell, we say the word genetic vehicle. It has a genetic past. It's a vehicle that we're using to kind of interact and move about this level of awareness, or this level of universe, this game that we've kind of fixed to playing down here. And so we uncover more of that as we progress. In bringing that up, though, let's see here. You know, the spiritual awareness exists at a point, we talked about alpha and beta existence. It exists at a point that is outside of, or what we used to say as exterior to, the physical universe, and what it takes place below it. Now, technically, an alpha spirit could actually operate a physical body directly, just by reaching with its intention, using energy beams in order to animate it, very much like a marionette, like operating a puppet. But what ended up happening, and we've been operating with bodies for countless lifetimes and many levels of existence, not even just this physical universe, but what's happened is an incremental or progressive complexity of various systems that are automated now to operate the bodies, rather than something that's consciously controlled, such as you would, for example, with a remote control vehicle like a toy car, or even when you're operating the remote controls or joysticks for a video game. You're operating exterior from, or outside of, the realm of what's affecting your character, your player. You know, when in the video game, when this character dies, it doesn't affect you. You're sitting there in your chair or at the arcade or whatever. But what ends up happening over time is less and less of this awareness, direct awareness of operating a body, is taking place. So what ended up happening is a mind system slowly kind of developed, and these are like spiritual mechanistic constructs. Now, after processing, we could say a mind system, and after processing level, 6 or 7, we could actually say, well, it's got some nice little circuitry going on and whatnot. But based on my personal experiences with the human condition and dealing with people and so forth, I would say, the mind really is probably represented more like some kind of spaghetti nonsense here. A good indicator of this, if you ever want to play with this, a good indicator of this is called communication lag. You ask somebody if they like cats, and they go on for 5 minutes telling you stories about when they were a child and the cat that they had and so forth, and all these things that it did and various things. And 5-10 minutes later, you still haven't gotten your answer to the question, do they like cats? And so that's the kind of networking and nonsense that the human mind is composed of. And when we talk about the zoo line, it's a different color here. When we talk about the zoo line, we are talking about something like a conduit of awareness, where what would have been perhaps, or could have been, just energy beams directly, attention on a body, making it do things, operating like a marionette. We have a communication relay taking place here that we generally call the mind, or in systemology, the mind system, because it isn't really just one thing. when we talk about fragmentation, we mean this cluster mess here of where a direct intention from the individual is being put forth, and it is encountering this entire mess of spaghetti nonsense before it's interacting with the systems of the organic body. And contrary, this happens the other way. The fixing awareness and beingness, we won't say the seat of consciousness anymore, but fixing your seat of beingness, your awareness, as a viewpoint within the body is entirely dependent, just like there's no longer an interaction of energy beams directly on the body to animate it. The sensors of the body, the receptor sensors, the stimuli from the surrounding environment, because here again we have the continuity of the physical universe, and what it is experiencing, you're not seeing it remotely anymore like a spirit would, just overseeing the body that's operating, overseeing the toy car that it's operating, and all the various things around it, so with an all-seeing periphery there. It's, again, the fixing an awareness point in the head really is restrictive, because now we have the fragmentation of the mind. We also have fragmentation inherent in the genetic vehicle, in the organic body, as its own living system, its own life system. And so it has its own mechanisms and responses and so forth taking place. And what we can do is actually superimpose this general understanding, and this is a basic understanding for systemology of mind, body, and spirit, and superimpose it onto the arcane tablets. And when we did that, we ended up developing what we call the standard model. And the standard model, what we'll do, we'll just put it right next to this, like a shorthand version of it, so that we can see the relationship. But again, we have infinity, and we have our 0 point. And we have our zoo line. Now, we also so we'll just label these for convenience. We have our alpha existence and our beta existence. And then here, this, we've already talked about this as a 0 point. Infinity is actually a sideways 8. And so we've been able to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We've been able to structure this on a 0 to 8 sequence. Now, at 4, you're going to see an interaction here between alpha and beta existence. And this, what actually makes this possible, what separates these, is what we refer to as the master control center. And that is really a fancy way Master Control Center is really a fancy way of saying mind of spirit. In archaic systemology, we used to say mind of spirit versus mind of body. The mind of spirit, or the Master Control Center, this is what a spiritual being is essentially compulsively and creatively creating for themselves in between their physical existences. See, there's something that tracks behind us, that trails behind us, that's accumulating mass and fragmentation in between physical incarnations, because of course everything has been recorded, everything has been stored, and all of these experiences that we have end up being stored and encoded to basically change how we end up encountering them later, and this just compounds and further. We have an initial encounter with something, we end up with a whole bunch of encoded information regarding it. Thereafter, each of our subsequent encounters with it is subject to how we are filtering it or encountering it that first time and how that's getting built upon each other. And that's, again, that's what we call fragmentation. So this is a communication relay between, we put the spirit here just below infinity, we put the alpha spirit there at 7, and its position, just outside infinity, its native state, has the ability to not only do all kinds of things in its own alpha spiritual state, but as it has descended lower in its awareness over time, it's developed this thing that we call the mind. And this has actually been to its own detriment. This isn't something that's actually necessary. If it were just knowingly created circuits of automation and so forth, you want something to happen, you're creating a universe, and every time you want something to happen as a result of something else happens, and consequent, you could program all that in there and so forth, but you would be knowingly doing it, and you could knowingly change it, and you would be taking full responsibility for this entire creation. What's been happening more and more as time goes on down the track is we're taking less and less responsibility, less and less knowingness. We're not knowing more things, and more things are being put on automatic. And again, this has been to our detriment. Now, the other area we have here is what we call the reactive control center, and we place that down here at, so this is 4, and this is 2. And the reactive control center, there are, this operates as a single system, as a single mind system. There's ways that this interacts, what the spirit is manifesting as a mind interacts with what the body has programmed into itself. Because the body is also its own spiritual form of life, its own continuing protoplasmic genetic evolution of life on this planet. It has been doing so, it has been evolving independent, however, of whatever an individual alpha spirit has been doing, and then every once in a while crossing paths. So the master control center, this is where you're dealing with the level of association and reason and so forth. When you're doing a math problem, when you're doing any kind of measurements, calculations, gauging efforts and so forth, this is all analytical, based on what the spirit is intending to do and what it knows of the physical universe. It says, the individual says, I want to open that drawer. And the mind, in relationship to the body that it's going to use to do that, is estimating and gauging how much effort is going to take place. You don't put enough effort, you got nothing that moves. You put too much effort, you've got a drawer flying behind you in the room. So there's a reason why at one point we considered the development of this mind system apparently useful. Unfortunately, the more that's been set on automatic, the less useful it really has become to us. And even lesser so, the level of life that is inherent in an organic body also has its own programs running. It's got its own evolutionary program, its own life continuation cycle, but that one is particularly reactive. It's mainly based on stimulus response mechanisms, things that are about evaluating, well, not even evaluating, simply identifying dangerous aspects of one's environment. That's about the only purpose it really functionally serves. And the problem with this reactive control center is that when it does identify one element in the environment that it considers dangerous or detrimental to personal survival or an emotional state or whatnot, it kind of associates or identifies rather all of the components of that experience as equally dangerous. It doesn't differentiate like an analytical mind would. And again, the lower our seat of awareness, or a lower seat of awareness, this is where we're going to be picking up our reality. We're no longer operating as the spirit up here looking down a long channel or looking through the video game console or however it is. We have displaced kind of our identification as self and our viewpoint somewhere lower, somewhere farther down the chain here. And so what we have here, and to be completely honest, this actually also extends down to infinity. It's an infinity to infinity situation. The entire scheme of infinity is part of what would be accessible to the alpha spirit, or within the realm of the alpha spirit as an experience. When we talk about the human condition, we are really talking about this area here. This is what defines the human condition. This is coincidentally what is confining all the elements of beta existence. And so human condition, beta existence, this is the limit or range of normative human perception and normative human experience, and all of the reality agreements that go into this 0 point of experience as the common denominator of the physical universe, beta existence. Now, it should be understood, we are treating this lifetime, we are treating this physical universe. When we start someone in on systemology, we're not chasing down a lot of mythology or a lot of... that stuff will come up later. This concept of beta existence is true for this universe. It is also once true for a previous universe. See, this physical universe, material existence we have right now, is not the only version of beta existence that we have ever experienced. However, it's the one that we need to treat most pertinently when we first begin this. So what should be understood with this model is that awareness pretty much descends down a chain, and to a certain point, chronically, it reaches a 0 point for that existence. And this 0 point would have been an entry point, so to speak, from a previous universe into this universe. And what we can tell from just charting cosmic history, or if you look at the Stargate system of Mesopotamia, or the Kabbalah that was derived from it in the ancient Near East, we see subsequent, more and more condensed, lower energy. Each one of these worlds or universes that have taken place, each one has become more compact, more solidified, less spiritual freedom, less spiritual awareness experience, less inherent spiritual ability, creative ability, so forth. Things have gotten pretty solid down here, but it's not as solid as they could get. And so we want to try to really reverse the direction that the standard, the downward spiral is going as a natural tendency. It requires being observed that this is happening, that this descent is taking place, and then corrective measures, of course, here. So to save time, I prepared, in order to move forward on the lesson, because I know a lot of people are most interested in the processing techniques and the methodologies and all of that. And in order to get to that, we have to basically finish covering out what those actually developed from and what we're actually treating at that level. Because we're kind of doing a fast track in these new courses. There are many volumes. There's an entire volume just dedicated to this alone. When we first started New Systemology in 2019, we revived it from 10 years of underground development. Tablets of Destiny more or less pertains to how the arcane tablets became the standard model, and it's, that's a whole volume right there. So we've just kind of blown through, in some respects, an entire research volume from the past just in this one part of the lecture. So to make it quicker, I prepared a chart. You'll see here that we marked it, the 4 down to 0. And so we're just going to kind of zoom in on that.
The Joshua-Free imprint, JFI Publications, in conjunction with Mardukite Academy and the Systemology Society, present the single greatest breakthrough of the 21st century for all humanity, the perfection of a new standard systemology, a complete map for the way out from the bottom to the top, and your key to being an ascended master in this lifetime. Everything you need is contained in 3 progressive, self-guiding courses: the Fundamentals of Systemology Basic Course, the Pathway to Ascension Professional Course, and the Keys to the Kingdom Advanced Training Course. And each should be studied and applied in their intended sequence and order as displayed in this video. All 3 courses combined are available as 5 standard hardcover volumes, but also as 33 installments, since each single course lesson is also available individually as a pocket-sized manual. The Fundamentals of Systemology Basic Course includes Being More Than Human, Realities in Agreement, Windows to Experience, Ancient Systemology, A History of Systemology, and Systemology Processing. The Pathway to Ascension Professional Course, including processing levels 0 through 6, includes in Volume 1, Increasing Awareness, Thought and Emotion, Clear Communication, Handling Humanity, Free Your Spirit, Escaping Spirit Traps, Eliminating Barriers, and Conquest of Illusion. The Pathway to Ascension Volume 2 includes Confronting the Past, Lifting the Veils, Spiritual Implants, Games and Universes, Spiritual Energy, Spiritual Machinery, The Arcs of Infinity, and Alpha Thought. The Keys to the Kingdom AT Advanced Training Course for Processing Level 7 in Volume 1 includes The Secret of Universes, Games, Goals, and Purposes, The Jewel of Knowledge, Implanted Universes, and the supplementals Systemology Biofeedback and Systemology Procedures. The Keys to the Kingdom AT Advanced Training Course for Processing Level 8 in Volume 2 includes Entities and Fragments, Spiritual Perception, Mastering Ascension, Advancing Systemology, and the AT Supplement Systemology Piloting. All titles are available from your favorite bookseller. Explore new standard systemology today, and may you never be the same.